is a tale, some are saying, of two very different protests. On the left in a moment, you'll see violent protesters at the G20 summit that started in Pittsburgh on Friday. On the right, protesters at recent healthcare town hall meetings across the country. Wow. Which one do you think generated more negative coverage from the mainstream media? Take a guess. Mary Catherine Ham's with us, a staff writer for the Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor. Mary Catherine, good morning to you, and thank you for your time. How did the media portray this?
Well, I mean, it's the same old story. Apparently on the left, if you're throwing rocks and pushing barrels at cops and damaging Starbucks all over the place, as they do at globalization protests frequently, and this week at the G20, that's kind of cool and revolutionary and counterculture, and that's the attitude you get from the press about it. Not a lot of fretting over the future of the republic, as we saw with Tea Party protests, where you see a couple of impolite signs, and all of a sudden it's the end of the world, according to Chris Matthews. So that's the difference you have there. And I actually have been studying the town hall protests really, really closely and added up all of the allegedly violent acts that happened. And I believe there were fewer violent acts during the entire month of August than there were in one day at the G20.
What was your tally, Mary Catherine?
Mine was about 10 or 11 violent protests, or violent acts in August, if you could call them that, related to the town halls. Many of them were just ripping posters or touching of different protesters in fights, but not necessarily real violence. And about 7 of 10 of those, you would be surprised to hear, were liberal on conservative violence. So it was, in fact, not the Obamacare critics who were causing most of the problem, according to the documented evidence.
Yeah, that wasn't the way a lot of people thought. Does that include the 9/12 event in Washington, by the way?
Yes, I have heard no documented evidence of issues there. So.
Well, you know, we see these 20-year-old punks getting out of, well, I guess they get out of bed early. I think they were a little sleepy in Pittsburgh, actually. I mean, because we wait for them to tear apart the windows on Starbucks about once a year, don't we? And frankly, I'm grateful that, you know, Pittsburgh was able to defend itself the way it did. Such a lovely town. It would have been awful to destroy that place. But we kind of come to expect this. Do you think the media is writing it off that way?
Well, I think one of the things that happens is, in fact, folks on the left benefit from a fewer lower expectations than protesters on the right. They're allowed to make a little noise. They're allowed to be impolite. They're allowed to hang Bush in effigy for 8 years, and that's what we come to expect from them. On the right, people are, frankly, kind of new to this. You've got a bunch of PTA moms and church groups out there protesting maybe for the first time, and I believe that really folks on the left, and in fact some cases in the media, want to impose a price on those people for getting out and making their voices heard against Obama's policies. And the way they do that is to sort of overblow the violence and say that we're about to bring about the end of the republic, which is...
But you know how fearsome those 70-year-old grandparents can be, right?
Yes, they're very frightening. In fact, I would note that if you are going to make the argument that the Tea Party protesters are going to be the end of the republic, then I would say that the republic is going to have no litter, because it was one of the cleanest protests and cleanups I've ever seen in Washington, D.C., having covered these for a while.
They come, they protest, and they take the garbage away that they bring with them. Mary Catherine Ham, thank you for your time. She's out in Vancouver today, and appreciate your time and your perspective on that. It is very true. You got it, for sure. And we'll talk again very